Alright mates, howdy doody. Gotta be honest, a little bit pissed off about these layoffs, but let's carry on with the story, shall we? In today's video, we're doing Vanilla Coldridge Valley and done Morogh for the Dwarves. So let's go!
The stoic dwarves of Ironforge spent countless generations mining treasures from deep within the earth. Hidden within their impregnable stronghold of Ironforge Mountain, they rarely ventured beyond the wintry peaks of Morogh. Recently, however, the dwarves unearthed a series of ruins that held secrets to their ancient heritage. Driven to discover the truth about his people's fabled origins, the great king Magni Bronzebeard ordered that the dwarves shift their industry from mining to archaeology. As part of the Grand Alliance, the stalwart dwarven armies have been called away to battle the merciless Horde in faraway lands. In these perilous times, the defense of the Mountain Kingdom falls to brave dwarves like you. The spirits of the ancient kings watch over you, and the very mountains are your strength. The future of your people is in your hands.
So I did a poll for the dwarf's name. Let's have a look at how that turned out. Okay, Dinklage is our young dwarven recruit today. His adventure begins in Coldridge Valley, which contains the base camp Anvilmar, named after Modamus Anvilmar, who was the king of all dwarves before the War of the Three Hammers. There's not a lot else to it, to be honest. Trolls have been a constant threat to the kingdom of Ironforge, but also trogs have started messing about in Coldridge Pass recently. And the local wildlife needs a bit of culling too. Dinklage was just basically looking to make a bit of beer money, because all dwarves are alcoholics. The first person Dinklage met on his adventure was a dwarf named Sten Stoutarm. He was basically a postman. But also, Sten is pretty significant, because he was the first of many dwarves on Dinklage's adventure to greet him by saying, "How are ya?" Sten noticed that Dinklage was looking a little bit chilly, so he made him an offer. "If you bring me 8 pieces of tough wolf meat, I'll give you some gloves." Sten also wanted Dinklage to basically do his job for him and deliver a bunch of mail to someone called Talon Keeneye, but that can wait a bit. So Dinklage did his first fetch quest. The drop rate wasn't too bad. Not every wolf was carrying a bag of wolf meat, but most of them were. He returned to Sten once he had 8 pieces and was kind of excited to get himself a nice new pair of meat gloves. What? Now the meat's for eating. Who the bloody hell would wear meat gloves? You freak? Anyway, whilst you were off killing a bunch of defenseless animals, some guy came and gave me a rune. It's one of them class-specific runes, so your next quest varies based on whichever class you are. For the sake of this video, Dinklage is a hunter, so we needed to speak to Thorgus Grimson, inside the forge at Anvilmar. Also, some guy called Bailey of Frosthammer was standing pretty close to him. He informed our hero that Rockjaw Trogs had been spotted near the frozen lake, and had recently attacked and overrun one of their camps. So it'd be swell if you could go and kill 6 of the normal ones, and then 6 of the burly ones as well. But first, he wanted to go and see the hunter-trainer guy in the forge. Thorgus was a jolly chap, absolutely mad about hunting. He explained to Dinklage that the life of a hunter is steeped in tradition. Tracking mighty beasts, drinking, travelling the land, drinking, surviving on wits and courage and cunning, drinking. Dinklage had never been so bloody excited in his life. Thorgus wanted Dinklage to learn a new ability called Steady Shot and then practice it on the dummies outside. So he did, and it was glorious. And now it was time to use his ability for reals and murder some sexy hench trogs. Once all that was done, Dinklage now needed to go deliver those letters. He found Talon Keeneye and gave him the stack of mail, but it turned out there'd been a mix-up at the post office, and some of the letters were for another guy called Grelin Whitebeard. But also, Talon wanted Dinklage to hunt some boars. I usually love hunting them, but there's so many nowadays and it's become a bit dangerous. So you do it. Kill 12 of the twats, and then it should be less dangerous for me. Dinklage quickly took care of that, and then made his way towards Grelin Whitebeard to deliver his post. But our hero got a bit nosy on the way and read the letter. It was from King Magni Bronzebeard, and he was basically saying, "Yeah, so I'm getting a little bit impatient with you. Hurry up and deal with the trolls already. You have my authority to do whatever it takes." Dinklage didn't tell Grelin that he'd read his letter, obviously, but Grelin decided Dinklage looked cool enough to be a part of the operation against the trolls. They're in a cave nearby. Go kill 14 trolls. Another guy called Nori Pridedrift wanted to give Dinklage a timed quest to deliver some coffee back to Anvilmar within 5 minutes. Otherwise the coffee would go cold. Dinklage really wanted to tell him to piss off, but people don't like it when I skip quests, so he ran all the way back to Anvilmar. And it's lucky he did, because some gnome was there moaning, "Our home has been irradiated and taken from us by the trogs, and blah 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 blah. No one cares about your problems, gnome. I had to evacuate GNOMEREGAN pretty fast, so I left a lot of my stuff behind. And somehow, some trolls managed to get hold of some of it. Could you go get my box, my chest and my bucket of bolts from the trolls in the caves? It was time to kill some trolls. He headed to the caves and spent what felt like the next week fighting them until he'd killed 14. He also learned a valuable lesson about World of Warcraft at this point. It was a pretty dog-eat-dog world. It's not like nowadays, where everyone can click on the same thing for a quest regardless of whether they're in a group or not. If there was anybody nearby, in the area, doing the same quests as you could either be polite and end up waiting forever for quest objects to respawn, or you could be a dick. Eventually, everyone becomes a dick. Dinklage returned to Grelin and let him know Operation Kill 14 Trolls had been a success. Grelin then informed him a troll had stolen his diary. Near the Cold's his name. Go back to that cave and kill him before he reads my deepest, darkest secrets. After killing the thieving troll bastard, Grelin was like, well, to be honest, the troll situation was under control when you killed 14 of them. But I'm just glad you killed Gricknir before he revealed that I have a super secret crush on the local postman. Anyway, you're done in Coldridge Valley, Dinklage. Take this report to my brother, Sanir. He's in Carinos, in Morogh. But you want to talk to the mountaineer guy called Thalos first. He'll give you directions. What are you waiting for? Off with you. Now Dinklage's adventure could really begin. He got the directions from Thalos, but to be fair, they weren't really needed because he picked up another quest from a gnome called Hans Spring Sprocket, which is a bit of a rapey name if you think about it. Why do they call him Hans? He wanted Dinklage to deliver a package to the innkeeper's assistant in Carinos, a guy called Tannock Frosthammer. Dinklage braved the Coldridge Pass tunnel. It was infested with trogs, and in all fairness, Dinklage actually just tried to run through the tunnel because he couldn't be bothered to fight them all off. Probably looked a bit like this. But he eventually came out the other end of the tunnel, followed the path down the mountain and found Carinos. He handed Grelin's report to Sanir Whitebeard, and the old dwarf explained that his brother had a tendency to tell anyone who'd listen that they were doing the king's work, which was rustling a couple of people's jimmies in the Senate. Not that that was necessarily a bad thing. Screw the Senate. I may have some work for you, Dinklage, but you might want to level up a bit first. Dinklage then handed in the supplies to the innkeeper's assistant, had a couple of drinks, and then had a whale of a time at the inn. Unfortunately, he drank way too much, and he died. This is Fingers Spanner Widget. He's a gnome that also happened to be questing in the area. He'll take it from here. Fingers helped a whole bunch of people around town. He helped a guy get the ingredients for some beer-basted boar ribs. He delivered some tools and some ammo to people. He helped some siege engine pilots fill their bellies and dress themselves. It was great. He felt like a real epic hero in a fantasy world. But by the end of this, he was level 7. So he approached Sanir Whitebeard and was like, hey, so that dwarf guy died. Maybe I can help you progress that story. I'm behind on a report and I could use your help, Fingers. I know where the trolls are holed up in Morogh, but there's way too frickin' many of them. Go find Frostmane Hold near BREWNALL village and kill 5 trolls. The siege engine pilots overheard and were like, headed up near BREWNALL village, are you? Bring us some beer back, will you? Because driving tanks whilst drunk is the only way to drive tanks. Also, a gnome called Razzle Spry Sprocket was all like, hey, so remember how our home, GNOMEREGAN, became irradiated, and the gnomes that got left behind all have leprosy now? Well, Pepperidge Farm remembers. But me and my friend here are building a machine called the Recombobulator, and it's going to cure the leprosy. We just need 8 cogs and 8 gears, and then the Recombobulator will be complete. At BREWNALL village, Fingers grabbed some beer, and picked up a few more quests that involved killing wildlife, for pretty much the same reason you always kill wildlife in the game. There's too much wildlife. Go kill 6 bears and 8 boars and 8 leopards, and then there'll be the perfect amount of wildlife. Fingers also helped the brewers of BREWNALL village gather some shimmerweed to make their beer better, whilst also playing a bit of corporate sabotage with some local rivals, the Thunderbrews. Here's the plan. Take this barrel of our beer to the basement at Thunderbrew Distillery, and you replace their beer with ours. Let's see how they like that. Fingers considered telling them their plan was a bit shit, but decided he'd take their money instead. Our gnome hero then ran backwards and forwards a lot. He headed to the cave and killed some trolls. He did the beer things. It was brilliant. When he returned to Sanir, the old dwarf was like, cheers mate, and asked him for one more favour. Could you take my report to Senator Baron Redstone in Ironforge? Sure thing, buddy. Fingers didn't really care as much about Ironforge's problems as he did the possibility of curing the leper gnomes, so he headed towards GNOMEREGAN first. Unfortunately, things got a little weird when he realised he needed to kill leper gnomes in order to collect the cogs and gears for the machine to cure the leper gnomes. It seemed a bit counterproductive, but he did it anyway. Next up, he headed to a local ranch where a dwarven lady called Roja Amberstill informed him that they had a bit of a Wendigo problem. There's a beastie called Vagash that keeps eating my rams, so kill it or something. So Fingers did that, because Fingers is Wellard. And after that, he found a few quests at a nearby quarry. There was a dwarf senator there called Near Stonehellow who wanted Fingers to kill some trogs messing about in the quarry. There was also a foreman who wanted Fingers to, well, kill some trogs messing about in the quarry. But these 2 quests were totally different because Fingers needed to kill different types of trogs. And that was about it. All that was left of Finger's journey through Morogh was to head into Ironforge and deliver Senior Whitebeard's report to the Senate. Entering Ironforge, Fingers was pretty blown away by this subterranean city. The dwarven architecture, the great forge at the centre, it was impressive. How the bloody hell did they build all this when they're always pissed? He headed into the high seat and handed Baron Redstone the report. At first, the senator was like, Guards? Guards? This midget. Even after reading the report, he didn't get any nicer. Just kind of told Fingers to piss off. If Fingers wanted to continue his adventure, he was going to need to head out into the world. Loch Modan seemed like the next logical region to visit. Maybe the people there will be a bit more grateful for help, unlike this senator jerk. And we're leaving it there! I don't know why, but this video was really difficult to write. I think it's because the quest lines are kind of random. There's like a natural journey through the human and orc starting zones, but Morogh is just like, kill a bunch of stuff and bring me some beer, will you? In the next starting zone video, I guess we're doing Forsaken in Deathnell and Tirisfal Glades. As always, thanks very much to the patrons for their continued support. If anyone would like to support the channel in that way, links in the description. And there's a link to the Discord server in there as well. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, all of that bollocks. And all there's left to say is, thanks for watching, and see ya!